All right, what is poppin', party pundits? We are back with another episode. This is Pop Talk episode number 49. This is your man Professor Nim signing in with Boston Jared. Don't forget the S.
What up?
And my man, the Casual Rand.
What up, though?
Coach Dave is not able to join us tonight, but he will be coming back in the upcoming weeks. But we don't want to bore you too much with some of the details. We want to jump right into the content. And we know that everybody wants to know what's going on with Terrence Bud Crawford.
All the time.
He had his first fight in 13 months, I guess. Just
over a year.
Since he stopped Sean Porter.
Retired him.
Not only that, but this was a referendum on BLK Prime and their ability to put on a high-profile event. So we'll kind of dive into that. But will we say that I thought that Bud impressed? I wasn't sure how many people watched. So So BLK Prime does. They just yesterday they had put out the full fight. I did not go and pay the money to watch the fight, and we can kind of talk about the people, how many people actually did watch the fight. I will say that the CHI arena in Omaha, Nebraska seemed like it was packed to the gills. His people definitely came out for him. But we'll start with the casual Rand. So first, let's just talk about Bud's performance. Right. So after being out of the ring for a month, and I thought this was a very formative. This was not somebody who was coming in to get a paycheck. I think Evan Leeson was somebody who had an avenue and path to victory, but it was shut off by Terrence Crawford. But give me your impressions on his performance.
The same. I mean, it didn't change. Going in, we all knew that Bud was going to knock this dude out. Bud, I think carried it for the 6 rounds. I don't think there was at any time that he was in danger or he was like woke up and he was like, oh, whoa, let me concentrate. I think Avanesian was a perfect fighter. I now understand why Bud was looking at him for over a year to try to fight him. The dude is a high guard, straightforward fighter. And then everybody on social media, Twitters or whatever was like, oh, he killed him. He rocked him. And it made it seem like he figured out a way to get him out of there. I'm like, dude, you know what I'm saying? Basic fighters know to get out of a fighter with a high guard coming forward is like a 6-3 combination gets you out every time. And if you watch the fight, Crawford started throwing that 6 like in 3rd round. He just kept throwing it and he was missing, but he kept attempting it. He knew the punch that was going to get him out, and it just took to the 6th round to get him. So
it did, but that was partly because of his corner. Like I don't know if you remember, but Bo had said something like, we need to start coming under. Right.
Yeah, I mean, but it was there the whole time. So if you a fighter coming with a high guard the whole fight, that's the only thing that he gave him was come forward with a high guard. He was there for the rib shots. He was there for the 6, and then you saw he followed it up straight with that 3, and he was out of there, man. It was there.
But to be fair though, but the 6 came as a counterpunch, which was you have to have impeccable timing. But
I think he was throwing that 6 for like 3 rounds. He knew that was the shot to get him out.
All right, so Boston Jared.
Let me just jump in real quick. There's one thing in regards to what Randy said. Let's debunk one thing. This guy was being looked at by Crawford and his team not because he was a vulnerable opponent, but because he was a viable opponent. The guy was on Top Rank for years and years and years. Did not have access to the same pool of welterweight fighters that other guys had, specifically the PBC guys. Avanesian was always a credible guy. He had been ranked a top 5, top 6 guy in multiple sanctioned bodies for a while. And he was a guy who they could have made a fight with. It had nothing to do with his quality or they thought it was a cherry pick. It was a viable option. It had nothing to do with his quality.
So you say. So you say.
Well, I mean,
we can debate that. That's up for debate. That's subjective. But what are your thoughts on
what's subjective specifically?
As far as if he was
his available opponents, guys who were signed to Top Rank or who Top Rank had access to.
But Boots
during the time he was a top
signed
fighter.
Bud wasn't signed to nobody, so he could have chose anybody. And then
right, but you said that over the last he'd been looking at him for over a year, right?
He has.
Right, but he just got out the Top Rank contract a year ago.
But he was looking that one can't be exclusive of the other.
Right, but Randy. Okay, I see what you're saying.
Well, he's saying that they're not mutually exclusive, right?
Okay, I see what you're saying. So because he was okay, all right. I'm thinking over a year. Okay, all right, never mind.
So I mean, what's your impressions on? And then I'll kind of save my impressions on Terrence for the last. But I mean, what did you see? You know, we haven't seen him in the ring in over.
He definitely has a ring rust. He definitely had a ring rust. He didn't look as snappy to me. That was the first thing that I noticed. He didn't look as, I don't want to say he didn't look as sharp, but he didn't look as quick. He didn't look as twitchy. And then he kind of started to build his way up and work his way up. And then the speed started coming back, the punch, the timing, and all that. You know, as you get older, inactivity becomes your worst enemy. At least that's what you'll hear from a lot of older fighters, guys approaching their mid-30s, and you could definitely see that. But
I'm hoping I wasn't seeing that.
He built it up. He turned it on though.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I noticed about him is there are a bunch of ways we've seen Crawford approach fights. We've seen him on his toes, moving against a guy like Postal. We've seen him put his hands up in the high guard and come forward against good, solid punchers like Aegis Kavalauskas and a guy like Avanesian, who I think is as good of a puncher as Kavalauskas. But in this fight, he kind of took that kind of half guard at times, and he rolled and parried a lot of the shots. And it looked like a guy who was preparing to implement a game plan later down the road. It looks like to me like he's preparing to fight that way against a guy, hopefully Errol Spence.
I was thinking about that. I was you know, I thought it was an uneven performance. I thought that the ending was, you know, spectacular, right? But a lot of times when you see that spectacular ending, then everything else before it you kind of forget about. But and I thought about, you know, was he preparing for a fight against somebody like an Errol Spence who does carry it in high guard and come forward? Even though Avanesian is naturally a right-handed fighter, he will turn Sawpaw sometimes, and then sometimes it just square up.
Avanesian will?
Yeah, Avanesian.
Oh, that was the other thing. Speaking of stances, you know, Crawford interestingly came out in the Orthodox stance, which he doesn't normally start off.
You know, I thought that he usually starts in the Orthodox and then just kind of like gets his reads, and then he's more. He definitely seems more comfortable in the Sawpaw stance. But to me, he's right. I don't know. We think that he's a natural, like a right-handed fighter.
Southpaw. He does his best work in a southpaw position.
He does this, but do you think he's right-handed or left-handed? He's probably right-handed, right?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. Like what hand he writes with, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, what he writes with just his dominant hand. But
I think he uses that to create distance. So if the other guy is a southpaw, he would come out in Orthodox. And I've been saying for a while, if there ever is a Spence Crawford fight, I had always thought he would come out in Orthodox to create that additional distance. But after getting caught clean by having these in like the first 45, not first 45 seconds, but he got caught.
It was the first round. It was pretty close.
It was the first round. I thought. Yeah. And then he immediately switched stance. I'm gonna go look and see what stance Avanesian is listed as on
so
on box
one
because I
one
can't
thing that I
remember.
noticed is that I thought you hit it on the nail on the head when talking about Terrence Crawford and his punches not being that snap. Particularly, it was his jab, even from the Orthodox and from the Sawpaw stance. I thought that it was a pawing jab, and I thought it was maybe on purpose, but I was really surprised by this kind of lackluster jab that he was putting out there.
He's never had the best jab, right? I
thought I've seen a stronger jab by him. It just for some reason, maybe I'm just adding into this, but I think that and one thing is that so he's known as a slick fighter, but you can touch Terrence Crawford. Like we've seen that through the years. Yeah. And then so for me, I could not help viewing this fight through the lens of, okay, like what if that was Errol Spence on the other end? So to me, even though I want to give credit.
Well, what if? What do you mean?
I thought that if Errol Spence is watching that fight, he is chomping at the bit. He is like looking outside, like I could capitalize on this. I see him doing these things. I see some flaws that if it was a pressure fighter with like me, with my boxing acumen, my size and physicality, that there would be some things that I would be able to capitalize upon watching this fight.
Like what things specifically?
One is Avanesian, when he would switch up to the he caught him with a basically it's like he had kind of like he was in the middle of a switch, and then he caught him with a overhand left, and basically it was a counter off of a lazy jab that Terrence Crawford was throwing, and kind of it was a very kind of a pawing jab that I saw it there.
Yeah, it was like a range finding jab, and he used it. He did use that a lot. So like that left hand over the top. What you saying?
Exactly. And when he switched to the Sawpaw stance, I saw so Terrence Crawford does this thing so I think that he's actually better defensively in the in the Orthodox stance, but he is just a more dynamic and lethal puncher from the Sawpaw stance. But when he's in a Sawpaw stance, he does this thing where he kind of defends by putting his left hand kind of
out of that half guard kind of
that half guard, and if you do that against Spence, that guy is going to take advantage of that. So I just saw that somebody who was a good, competent fighter, so Avanesian had knocked out his last 6 opponents, and then Terrence Crawford had knocked out his last 9, and with this fight, his last 10. Yeah. But at the same time, when Avanesian is not anything close to a poor man's version of an Errol Spence, and I just think that I would, if I was Errol Spence, I would be on the phone right now with Terrence Crawford directly, trying to get this fight going.
Well, again, there you go. If those things, if Spence saw the stuff that you talked about, they think they can take advantage of it, that fight will get made quick, fast, and in a hurry. If they still think there's danger, then I don't think that we see that fight next year.
I think
ahead,
so. Like I'm always on the other side of the coin. I mean, I don't even Terrence Crawford after the fight didn't say, but I mean, Spence's name. He was like, oh well,
why should he?
Because everybody know that's the fight to make. You know what I'm saying?
He spent the last 4 months doing interviews talking about Spence.
He came out with the t-shirts with the big fish. You know what I'm saying? Bud ain't say shit. So don't. You know what I'm saying? It's you saying that why should he call out Spence, but why isn't Bud calling out? You know what I'm saying? Why isn't Bud calling out Spence?
I mean, he spent the last.
Spence is literally like the day of the fight, he put out, you know what I'm saying? You can't be more disrespectful than to put out a t-shirt with your name, with Terrence Crawford's name on it, saying that I'm the big fish and I'm ready for you on your fight night.
He spent the last several weeks talking about Spence in all these interviews that he very rarely does. I mean, I don't understand what else you want him to say that he hasn't said already.
It's time to shoot. It's time to put up a show up. Most people after the fight be like, hey, what you want to do next?
And he said, you know what I want. He said, you know I want the Spence fight.
No, he didn't.
Yes, the fuck he did, Randy.
Pull it up.
He said, you know the fight I want.
That ain't what you just said. You know what I'm saying? That ain't what you just said.
But that's what he
said. So
intimated. Okay, all right. But I mean, we understand. There's only.
What fight you think he was talking about?
When he says that,
he talking shit about Charlo now. He's trying to go to Charlo.
No, so that's the fight you think he was talking about.
We know the fight that he wants. Come on, like casual. Let's be
totally words. Hey, we all adults, right? We all say things with our words, so you don't have to assume shit. And
we can since we're adults, we can use context and we can look over the last several months.
We got burned by that because we thought that fight was going to happen.
Dude, like, come on, you just arguing to argue. Like, what fight is he talking? What fight would you think he'd be talking about? Even if it were Charlo,
bro, if he wanted to fight, he would have said Spence. He didn't say Spence, so I say he don't want to fight.
Right, because he didn't call up Al Heyman several months ago, right? He didn't call up Al Heyman to try and get the fight. Directly. He wasn't in negotiation with this dude. That was all a ploy.
One, this is where we ain't gonna relitigate this, man.
Okay, we're not. No, but like,
we ain't gonna relitigate because you know what I'm saying. Because all honesty, if y'all want to keep going down this route, so the word, the reporting that's coming out, it was a $1 million guarantee for this Avanasian fight.
What does that have to do with anything? What do you mean? What does that have to do with anything? Him wanting to fight, Spence.
I said a $1 million guarantee for the Avanasian fight. So
$5 million up front.
That's I'm going by what the reports are saying. You going by what the words of Terrence Crawford said.
So I shouldn't take Terrence Crawford at his word.
I don't know.
I should take a third party.
I don't see $10 million coming out that fight, but he said he got $10 million.
It doesn't have to come out the fight, Randy. It doesn't have to come out of the fight. They paid him paid him money in advance. They paid him $5 up front, and they're going to pay him $5 after. You don't even know where the $10 million came from.
That's what I'm saying. All right. So, but did he say he got $10 million for the fight?
He said he got $10 million for the fight on Brian Custer's interview. Brian Custer asked him specifically $10 million. He said, yep. He said, I got $5 up front and I get $5 after. Adrian Broner, interestingly
showing
enough,
that the reporting, I don't, you know what I'm saying? I could take it as a grain of salt because I honestly believe that he got $10 million. But I don't think he got $10 million for this fight. Right, I think he got $10 million to be part of the BLK Prime family. So, and we'll see come the next fight.
Okay, so let me interject real quick, and then when I do that, I want to do a kind of a swift transition to kind of talk about BLK Prime just as a production, put on their first show, and then we can't leave out the glove controversy, which Everlast has weighed in, but we'll also talk about that. So this right here is from DraftKings, right? So we can say that they do not have a dog in this fight, right? So they are breaking down the purse for both fighters, and this came out on December the 10th. So it says that Terrence Crawford, this will be a one-fight deal with BLK Prime, according to Crawford's camp and Boxing News 24/7. It said he has also received half of his guaranteed $10 million, and it's projected that Crawford would also earn 70% of the pay-per-view views. That's for Avanasian, per totalsports.com. I mean, Sportal, I should say. He will receive $300,000 and a projected 30% of the pay-per-view share from there. So
Crawford getting more than $10 million.
Yeah,
well, I don't know about that. It just depends on how many.
I mean, come on, Cam. You can't quote it and then be like. So according to what you just said, he got 10 million and 75% of the pay.
No. I said no. They said that he was guaranteed but he received half of his guarantee. So that was 5 million, and that he's supposed to get 70%. So that, to me, that's kind of murky language in saying that we're going to give you half of that guarantee up front.
That's now y'all fudging y'all own shit right now, because you
who's y'all?
I'm just reading it.
But the universe, because as Jared just said, Bud came out his mouth and said he getting 10 mil.
And that's what that report also just said.
But then you saying that he getting 75% of the pay-per-view, so he getting 10 mil and 75% of the pay-per-view?
70%. I mean, this is what DraftKings is reporting. I don't know if the rest of the guarantee.
But DraftKings ain't coming with their own original thoughts. So this you quoting a source that's quoting a source.
I mean, is he?
Yeah, but I mean, they're not necessarily biased, but they've got some investigative reporters for them. So
so you quoting a source that's quoting a source. Because he just said, like, Boxing Room or Boxing News 24 or whatever, where they found out they getting the 10 mil. That's a source giving the source.
Terrence Crawford has said out of his own mouth it's 10 million. That's the horse's mouth as far as I'm concerned.
Right. So the breakdown. So according to our logic, if he said he getting 10 million, and then the report saying he getting 75% after the 75% of pay-per-views, so he getting 10 million and 75% of pay-per-views, 70% of pay-per-views.
Apparently. That's not a bad night's work.
I never counted the dude money. I don't care. I understand that, you know what I'm saying? Like, if this opportunity came where they paying me $10 million to fight somebody I know I'm gonna scrub up, I'm gonna take that too. But I just saying that the whole thing was just negotiated in bad faith. That's just my opinion. You know, and nobody can tell me wrong. Y'all can argue y'all point, but y'all can't prove to me. Nobody can prove facts but the people that was there.
Yeah, I mean,
only two guys were there, and the other guy that was there never talked.
Who's the two guys?
It was Al Heyman and Terrence Crawford.
That's not true.
I guess, and a lawyer. So 3 guys. Well, Spence wasn't there.
Showtime. The contract came from Showtime, right?
I don't know.
The contract came from Showtime.
No, I don't know. Errol Spence is not a Showtime fighter. Let's be clear.
But Espinosa was the one who was going to pay to put on the fight. The money was.
I know that Errol Spence is not a Showtime fighter. He signed to PBC and Al Heyman.
I understand that.
So the answer to your question is probably no.
Yeah, but the money came from where? The money didn't come from PBC. The money was coming from the networks that was the network that was going to show the fight. Correct?
Potentially, right? Because he was getting 35% of pay-per-view revenue.
And there's a combination, right? It comes from advertisers and people and other kind of, I don't want to say angel investors, but there's a kind of a conglomerate of money that we can take from. But let's not speculate on that too long. Let's give some time. Let's talk about BLK Prime as a production. All right,
it was great. I couldn't believe it. I was
Go
shocked.
ahead, Boston.
I thought that shit was going to be, and that was me going off of DAZN's first couple of events. And DAZN, by all accounts, is operating with way more cash.
Absolutely.
Than BLK
that's
Prime.
what we think.
At least that's what I had assumed based on some of the stuff I know
our
about.
assumption, exactly.
Based off of exactly. So, but yeah, man, production quality was top notch, man. The commentating was good, courtesy of Antonio Tarver and Paulie Malignaggi. And shout out to Blue Blood for finagling a YouTube podcaster career into a commentator role, whatever you want to call that role he had, man.
In Blue Blood, I think he actually is part of BLK Prime.
It sounds like it, based off of what.
So shout out for Blue Blood for maneuvering his way into BLK Prime, and then with his newfound power being in the production of the event. But
Okay, go ahead, Mr. PBC. What do you think
You know
about
I didn't doubt like the commentator wasn't going to be on point. You had former top ranked PBC commentators on the program. So Showtime. Yeah, Showtime commentator. So yeah, I think it was good, but it was good until it wasn't. Now I'm gonna switch to the second topic of this.
Go ahead. With
the gloves. Like Antonio Tarver, like maybe let the cat out the bag when he was like, yeah, I seen that. I seen both of his gloves busted a couple rounds ago. He said that live on the commentary.
Yeah, well, but he actually went like so this is one thing I want to say that also I want to give props to BLK Prime because this is the first time that I've seen a female kind of referee a championship fight.
That's right. I forgot all about that.
I hate to be the hater.
Go ahead.
That was good, but at the same time bad because the shit that we about to talk about now is the bad side of that. It's good that we had a black female.
So what happened was
because she didn't notice the gloves.
Well, I mean, she continued. I mean, you cannot let a fight continue. Like if you got a piece of tape coming hanging off,
they gotta stop you. Shit.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So what happened was something falling out your glove. Now your glove. Now me as a fighter, I'm fighting you with 8-ounce gloves, but now your shit fucked up. You fighting me with 6.
No, I mean,
wait a minute.
That's kind of drastic. But like, let's
drastic. You can't.
Let's just give Randy. Let's just give context. Randy, come. Let's give context. So what happened was at the end of the 5th round, she had called timeout, and then she had actually took Terrence Crawford over to the commission and then had him look at his glove because what she noticed was that not one but both of his gloves had a split in them. And where you could see that none of it had came out, but where you could see that there was an avenue for
you can't say nothing had came out at that. And two,
you can't because it was just split. It wasn't like you would have seen it falling out.
Hold on, this is when Tarver when they were stopping it. This is when Tarver was like, yeah, I saw that like a couple rounds ago. So the gloves been broke from like at least 3rd round. So now you fighting with defective gloves. You can't prove that nothing fell out that glove. And then now
neither can you. So for you to insinuate that somehow he had a competitive advantage,
and then he lost 2 ounces over those.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So let's back up a little bit.
Can you prove without a doubt that you got 2 busted gloves and nothing came out of that glove?
No, I can't, Randy. But that's exactly why I got
So now, since you hold on, since you can't, now you have the potential of you fighting with a 6 or 7 ounce glove against a person that's still fighting.
So now you went to 6 or 7 ounces.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, so.
No, I'm saying maybe an ounce full of. You can't tell me maybe an ounce of a patent fell out of that. You can't prove that it didn't.
Where was the split? I'm on YouTube. I'm on Google right now trying to find images of these damn gloves.
So I knew you were going to say
near
that.
Was near the
split in the glove.
Thumb. So
all
it was
right,
like on the outside of the thumb.
Like if I fuck up the wrist in the glove, do I go to the store and get a new wrist part? Or if I fuck up the thumb, do I go back to the store and get a new thumb? No, you replace the whole glove. So if any part of that glove is defective, that means the whole glove is defective.
Yes, but having a defective glove, Randy, and the size,
that's negligence on their part.
Yeah, we're not arguing that, Randy. That's clear beyond a shadow of a doubt. What we do have, I think me and Cam take issue with is somehow he went from 8-ounce gloves to 6-ounce gloves.
You can't prove
because of a defective glove.
Nothing fell out that glove. That's what I'm saying, though.
But you can't either. You can't either. So why even insinuate that? Why even bring that up?
Because you allow me to insinuate once the shit get busted and you still allow that fight to go on. That's
okay. Well, okay, but I can say this: it is equally probable that no stuffing at all fell out of the glove.
You can't
if you can't
argue that. You know what I'm saying?
Because from 8 ounces to 6 ounces, I can argue that it didn't change at all. The ounce, the weight of the glove didn't change at all.
The thing to do was to stop the fight and change gloves, and you don't do that. You allow the speculation of of cheating and all that other improprieties that come into play. And
yeah, the only people that are insinuating cheating are unreasonable. That's not unreasonable. These jackasses that run these YouTube channels that need to pay their child support off of YouTube revenue are the ones insinuating that.
I got educated,
reasonable.
I got a watch
insinuating that he cheated against David Avenese.
I got all this in this hat, but now I got a hole in it. It's
here comes a terrible analogy for all the audience out here. Here comes a terrible analogy. Go ahead. Sorry, finish the terrible analogy.
So you saying that it's improbable that any other cushion fell out the holes in those gloves?
I'm not arguing probability. What I'm arguing is facts.
That's what I'm doing. Because all I got to do is show probability that put doubts into this fight.
What's the probability that the stuff fell out?
Avenese has a lawsuit that he can.
What is the probability that stuffing fell out of the gloves and the glove went from 8 ounces to 6 ounces? What's the probability? Since you want to argue
more probability that happening than not happening.
Well, what number? 90%? 80%, 30%,
between 60 and 70,
70% that the glove went from 8 ounces to 6 ounces.
No. I'm saying that something.
Without us being able to see physical evidence of a glove losing 2 ounces of weight.
So Cameron, so they you saying that they should keep allowing the busted ass gloves.
Well, I mean, saying that, Randy.
At the point, so this was the biggest concern. It wasn't that anything was coming out of the glove. What they stated, and they said this during the 6th round, was Paulie Malignaggi, and he said, I keep freezing. He said that this is an issue because it actually might have been the kind of main commentator. Because so what if you hit him with like a slicing blow or something like that, and then he gets cut? So they weren't necessarily, so there was no physical evidence that anything was coming out of the glove, but there was a split. So when there's a split, there's an opportunity for you to cut your opponent in there.
All right, so answer this. What's more likely though? Something coming out, or a padding coming out, a glove that split, or padding are disproportionately coming out a whole glove with nothing wrong with it?
I would say I guess the glove with the split, since that's the one that's defective.
All right. So now I'm never arguing that something did fall out. I'm not arguing that. I'm saying that
you started off with the glove went from 8 to 6 ounces.
There's the ability that something fell out. But just so happens something fell out. Now he got a 7 ounce glove. Now, is that fair that he's fighting somebody with 8 ounce gloves and did everything right, and then you fighting with a defective glove? He knew that the glove was defective and he still fought. That's my only point on this, is that by him still fighting, or the commission still allow him to fight, you bring in all these what ifs, or this could have happened, or this may happen. You can't prove that it didn't happen, improprieties into this fight.
I think if there was stuffing, if there was actual padding coming out of the gloves, they would have had no choice but to stop the fight and change out the gloves.
And they were actually.
That's what I think. If it was that bad, now if I see a picture,
but at the same time, anybody before this fight, if they said, "Man, if you got 2 split ass gloves, they have no chance, no reason in hell but to stop the fight," and they didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? You talking whataboutism after the fact. I'm saying if I would have told you that Tyson Fury and Wilder is fighting, and then Wilder busted both of his gloves. Both gloves busted, but they was like, "Don't worry about that. We're going to keep fighting." What was the probability of that? If I told you that, the probability of that keep going on?
I have no idea. Randy.
If it happened,
I don't even know where you're really going with this. You're saying
that
any
fight in history, if they would have asked you if a fighter busted both gloves were busted, and then the white shit was showing in each glove. If that fight,
how much money would
you're kind of you're adding a lot now. So
unless you have an image that we don't know about.
Yeah, so these were just gloves.
You won't see the white shit in his glove.
Because they were split.
Show me a picture.
There was nothing coming through.
I didn't say nothing coming through, Cameron. I said, do you see the whites coming out of the glove in the glove though?
I can see it split. I'm trying to find an image now. I can't.
I can't find one either.
They've been doing a good job of scrubbing the internet.
Yeah.
Man, dude, that was some bullshit, man.
Randy, no one's arguing that they shouldn't have stopped the fight. All my problem was we shouldn't go from defective gloves to 8-ounce to 6-ounce gloves. I think that's a serious stretch.
That's the possibility. That's what, by you continuing a fight that should be stopped, so they can only had to do is stop it and change the glove. Now you introduce all the shit that I bring in is relevant. It's relevant. All right,
where else are we going with this? Do we want to keep talking about this because we've hit the brick wall now?
Oh yeah, well, I've got some images that
post them. Let's see them.
That do not look good for your team, Crawford. I will say that.
Post them.
Yeah, let's see them shits.
This is I didn't. This is a lot worse than I.
So you telling me
that's pretty bad?
You telling me that there's no possibility the shit couldn't have fell out of that?
There is no evidence that anything because
I didn't say, Cameron, I never said that there's evidence of shit fall. I'm saying the possibility because this is the shit that they can argue that he had a technical advantage from a glove with busted ass holes. Shit could have fell out and he could have been getting rocked by 6-ounce gloves. I said the possibilities. I never said it was.
I'm gonna go with slim to none on that. Just looking at the gloves, it looked bad. It definitely could have gotten cut. He could have. Now, what I would argue if I were taking this position was that something could have, like Paulie said, he could have gotten cut. Could have gotten some of the material. Could have came out in his eye. Like all that shit. If these are the actual images, yeah. But I wouldn't be sitting here arguing. We could have been getting hit with 6-ounce gloves and competitive advantage and all that shit. My position would be, hey, the gloves shouldn't have gotten approved. The commission should have stepped in. They were negligent in their responsibilities.
And that
no contest.
And that is an issue with Everlast. They were,
and then you know what I'm saying. And then another point I could have made, like you know what I'm saying. Like you remember when Tyson, like before he fought. He like dug his knuckles into shit because he wanted to move the patent. Like the busted pad could have been, you could have moved the patent. He could have been getting rocked with straight fists.
Again, but more absurdities and ridiculous.
How many? You cannot argue that. How many condos does Terrence Crawford hold up inside your brain, man, up in your mind?
It's crazy, dude. Some of this shit,
y'all motherfuckers, y'all.
I know you're thinking of like you going back to like Mike Tyson. So he could have done this. So you thinking that he's conspiring to like cheat? Like Bud has never had any kind of. Well, we're saying that we admit that there was an issue with the gloves. We acknowledge that. And then that's why we didn't stray away from that. We wanted to talk about that on the show.
That's where it's like begin and that's where it
ends. To allow the fight to keep going, you bring in what aboutisms or possibilities of this, and this.
Not from reasonable people. For people who are looking for controversy, yes. Not from reasonable, unbiased people. A reasonable position is that the glove should have been replaced. We shouldn't go from that to we could have manipulated the padding.
And they were going to be replaced after the 6th round.
They kept the fight going. They kept the fight going. So
crazy, man.
But they kept the fight going, so you can.
It was the commission looked at the gloves, and then what they were going to do was replace them after the 6th round because they had to go and get the replacement gloves. But nobody, knew that. So all right. Since I'm so fucking crazy, so I'm so fucking crazy. Cameron, tell me why Avanesian. What is Avanesian camp doing now about that fight? Well, listen, I think anytime that you lose a fight, you look for any. I've heard people talk about I lost a fight because I had a flu or I had this out there. So if you have any avenue or kind of any recourse to be able to address that, you're going to take that.
So they're trying to get the result overturned. Is the short answer. Sorry to cut you off.
They are trying. Yeah, they are.
That's the short answer to Randy's
question.
What
are they saying? What are they saying to get it overturned?
Well, they were saying that Terrence Crawford stopped your man with defective Everlast gloves.
Nothing about competitive advantage, which I want to specifically illustrate to the listeners. They're arguing defective gloves, which nobody said the gloves weren't defective, right? What that team is specifically not saying, what Randy, you're trying to float out there and insinuate, is that Crawford may have had some kind of competitive advantage, and Avanesian's team doesn't even seem to make that argument. Which doesn't mean you can't.
I'm going to read a statement from Everlast. So Everlast says,
we don't need to hear that. You know what I'm saying?
This is good. I mean,
why not? There's context for our listeners.
No, it's context. I mean, we'll let the viewers decide if this is relevant or not. It says, this is what from Everlast. It says, during the development cycle, the custom fit gloves used in Crawford versus Avanesian, a batch of defective leather was used in production, resulting in a malfunction during the competition. In such cases, Everlast follows protocol by providing backup competition pairs to be replaced pending a decision by the sanctioning body overseeing the fight. A stoppage was called to review the equipment malfunction, and the commission deemed the equipment was still suitable for competition. No foul play was at hand, nor was there any tampering of the product on behalf of Terrence Crawford and his camp. In addition to the steps we are taking now, Everlast has a long, so that part is out there. But so that is them stating that this was kind of a production failure on the behalf of. I mean, it's unfortunate. It's going to be a scar on this, on this fight. But we've given Bud Crawford his due in there, and we're not trying to skate away from this, but there was a lot of fights over the weekend, so I want to try to make a transition.
Say one more thing.
Go ahead.
I'm not doubting what Everlast said. And I understand that there was a defective glove. I never said that he pulled the fucking
Don't say Tyson Fury, please. Don't say that.
What's the dude with the dip gloves?
Are you talking about Margarito?
Yeah, I'm not saying he pulled a Margarito. Yeah. I'm just saying that by the fact that the commission and the ref didn't stop that fight and have that shit changed, open the floodgates for all the crazy hypotheses, all crazy scenarios, and some of them I just brought up to be introduced into this fight.
All right, we can timestamp there. Let's move on.
There we are. So with that said, your boy, he's kind of my boy.
The takeover.
My boy, the takeover, who looks like he needs a makeover at this point. He had a split decision win this weekend over
a gift decision win, I think. Some might argue.
Over Sandor, who had beat, actually in his previous fight, he'd actually beat Mikey Garcia. So this was not a pushover. But I watched the whole fight. I didn't score it. I know that
that's the whole point. Yeah, damn, you didn't score that shit?
So you couldn't score the fight.
You scored it while watching
between Bud and
I watched it again though.
Oh,
okay. So
I went back and watched it again.
So we'll go to you first or whatnot. So what do you? So this was a fight where after I thought it was very telling where Teofimo, he actually got dropped once, maybe
should have been called twice,
maybe twice or not. But he also questioned if he still, do I still got it or whatnot. So how did you see that fight going?
It's more the same from this kid, man. He's a guy that fights with, and I know this might sound crazy to listeners, he's a guy that fights exclusively with his hands and his feet and not with his head. Mm-hmm. And against a crafty guy like that, you've got to use your brain. You got to go back to basic, not even no high level shit, like just basic. Stop following the guy around the ring. The guy's already walked you into one punch, right? Stop following him around the ring.
Right hook.
Step over, step back, step over, and cut the ring off. Like basic shit. But when you have a helicopter parent, and I don't want, first of all, let me preface this by saying this. I'm not questioning Teo Sr.'s competency as a father. But what I have questioned, and I'll continue to question, is his competency as a boxing trainer. And when your guidance in the corner in between rounds is, come on, Poppy. Let your hands go, Papa. Come on, Papa. Fuck him up already. Let's go. That you needed time for a new trainer. It's time for a new trainer.
Okay, but
because it's taking its toll on him psychologically, right? As we can see, forget all the outside the ring shit that he's going through. Just the inside the ring shit. It's bad.
It's all in his father.
It's
all because so I watched almost an hour-long interview that he had with Ariel Helwani, who is one of the top MMA kind of journalists or whatnot. But he did and it was eye-opening. Like Teofimo was. I don't want to say that
pre-fight or post-fight.
Pre-fight.
Pre-fight. Okay.
I don't want to see he seemed like off of his rocker, but he seemed a little detached from reality, right? He was just kind of like throwing out these kind of one-off kind of metaphors and things, and it was just that he didn't seem right mentally, and it's not me kind of feeding into the chat, but a lot of people were just like, this guy seems like he is in a different dimension right now in there. So I don't. So he's always been somebody who has always had all the physical gifts to be a all-time great in there, but we know that mentally he's had his struggles in there. So do you think that accounts for anything?
No, I really don't, man. Boxing is full of guys who have battled all kinds of outside the ring demons, less talented guys than Teofimo who have been able to overcome that. Don't ask me the name off the top of my head, but I bet you if we look through boxing history, we'll find guys who had to deal with shit outside the ring. This is about
I could be a Boche is like one of them, yeah.
This to me is about boxing. This is boxing 101 shit that he needs to be instructed on, and he's not getting that instruction. It doesn't appear to be happening outside the ring. It doesn't appear to be happening in between fights, like in training camp, and it definitely is not happening in between rounds. Now, the one thing I want to point out for our listeners' edification is that Joey Gamache, who has been in the boxing business for a long time, been around as a trainer, I believe, for a while, no longer with the camp. After the Lomachenko win, Joey Gamache, as well as whoever the nutritionist they were working with, was let go.
That was my next. This is the same fighter, and Lomachenko is a high IQ fighter. This is high speed chess.
People are starting to bring it up if Lomachenko was actually healthy for that fight.
And that's people trying to. Those are Lomachenko fanatics.
Yeah, that's
that fight to me. Go ahead.
No, I was saying that's just top rank
propaganda.
They always make excuses for Lomachenko.
Lomachenko is operating at a significant physical disadvantage at 135 pounds. And I'm not a Lomachenko apologist. I respect the man. I'm very, very neutral on Lomachenko. But it's obvious. If you look at his last fight against that kid Jermaine Ortiz had a serious size and weight advantage over him. Teofimo also had a serious size and weight advantage over him. The reason Teofimo was able to have the success he had in that fight was because of the physical advantages.
Yeah.
Power being one of them, but with that extra size comes an additional physicality and additional power. So this is still the same guy, right? I don't believe we're seeing some sort of decline from the Lomachenko fight to now. And what we're seeing is a plateau, and the
Client. So, like, you think this same fighter against Lomachenko is getting caught with those?
Yeah, absolutely.
With those right hooks. The guy was just like going face first. I thought it was some technical flaws that he had.
I think it's the same. I think it's the exact same guy, and he's just in there now with guys who are not going to be in awe of his power or intimidated by his power because they've been at the weight. Not counting Pedro Campa, I'm thinking specifically Sandor Martin. Sandor Martin was in there with a guy, Mikey Garcia, who has a 90-something% knockout ratio. Mikey Garcia very rarely goes the distance, and he usually knocks motherfuckers down. Point is, Sandor, Regis, pick a guy. They're not going to be intimidated by that power.
At 140, man. Hey, go ahead, Captain. Ugly. The sharks are circling, especially after
blood in the water.
Fight, man. If you follow these fighters on Twitter, man, the sharks were circling.
So
blood in the water.
With that said, we'll go to you, the casual. So at the end, and this is why I think a lot of it was mental, because you saw him question, like, I don't know if y'all saw, but he was leaning against the rope, and this is, you never want to see this from a fighter. You never want to see this out in the open, but he said, man, do I still got it? Like, am I still that dude?
I think his mental has always been like a little fragile. But this fight, where in his hometown, you know what I'm saying, he was hyped up to go ahead and knock this dude. It was on Heisman night. You know, he showed out on Heisman night, right? And Heisman night. Who was he originally scheduled to fight?
Jose Pedraza. And that's another thing that we should not.
Thank you for bringing that up.
We shouldn't leave that out, that this was a late replacement. And
but Sandor
Martin does not fight like Jose Pedraza fights.
Yeah, so but still, this is supposed to be his night. He was supposed to show out, you know what I'm saying, reintroduce himself. But none of that came to fruition. I think he was gifted that decision. And ESPN and Top Rank knows it. You know what I'm saying? Bob Arum came out like a day later and was like, yo, do not call out program. I was like,
that'd be the
hey,
programs would ruin him.
You do not want anything to do with program right now. So now I think he need to step back, man, and like Boston said, start looking for other trainers, man. I think his physicality, he has it. He has it with the physicality. That's why everybody's so.
Well, when you say physicality, Randy, what do you mean? When you say physicality, to me that means size and strength, not his athletic abilities, like his speed, his quickness, his reflexes.
Like size and strength. I think he can literally hang it at the 140 division with his physicality, his size and strength.
But
one of his mind that the people that he hit is going to fold like the people at 135. Once we realize that and he go back to learning the basics of boxing, I think he'll be okay. But he has to get proper training. And then I had got an argument with somebody online was saying like,
hey, you always argue with niggas online.
A focused Teofimo would be dangerous, and I got to change that shit to like a properly trained,
right?
Properly trained and focused Teofimo, I think will be dangerous.
I still think those things go hand in hand. I think that if you are properly trained, that you're going to be focused. But with that said, I want to go back to the physicality because I haven't been on this train, but I think I'm about to go ahead and hop on to it wherever it takes us. But Boston Jared has said that Teofimo's power has not translated. It's not gone up to this 140. And then so this was one of the first time Sandor Martin didn't seem bothered at all by his power or those kind of quick bursts of combinations that we usually see, which is an advantage because that actually puts your opponent on this kind of defensive where they can't be as offensive and dynamic as they want to be because they have to be wary of this well, they have to be wary of this power. So with that said, Boston Jared, do you think that we have you seen, or do you think that Teofimo's power translates to the 140-pound weight division?
I think it's TBD because I really think it's TBD. I want to see him set his feet, not lunging with his hands down with his distance wrong and his timing wrong, and land clean hard shots. But just to clarify what I was getting at earlier, I don't think the 140 pounders, certainly the top 140 pounders, are going to come into fights leery of this kid's power. I think he's going to have to show them. He's going to have to show them first, and then maybe there's, oh shit, this kid does got a little bit of pop. Whereas at 135, going back to Loma, you saw how Loma came out in that fight, and Loma was a guy that came out from the very beginning of the fight like, oh shit, I can't let this kid touch me.
Yeah,
the disposition
he thought
of
a broad, so yeah,
won't be that.
But even against Comey, like he wrecked Comey in like a couple of rounds, and
that was a well-timed shot. He ran.
It was like perfect. I mean, it was one of those kind of, I don't want to say lightning in the bottle, but it was one of those things. But it put you on notice, and then it actually, I think it put Lomachenko on notice also that, hey, but
he didn't stop Nakatani. He didn't even drop Nakatani.
No, I mean, he actually.
Nakatani is a bigger 135 pounder.
Yeah. So let's just end this. But so Boston, what do you think our Teofimo should go next? Just as far as opponent, coaching decision, just wrap this up with them.
As far as opponents, I think he needs to revisit the Pedraza fight. I think the Pedraza fight is a get your mind right kind of fight where I think he can go in there against a guy who stylistically is going to enable him to look better. It can help build his confidence, and hopefully, if he adds somebody to his team who is able to correct and coach and refine what it is he's doing, he's able to go in there and work on some things. I don't think he is ready for any of the top guys at 140 pounds. And if I were the matchmakers at Top Rank, I would keep him well away from those guys. I say revisit the Pedraza fight is what I would do if I were managing him.
All right. With that said, we got a couple of more segments that we're gonna run through pretty quickly. So one is we're gonna have our reaction to a fight that happened just yesterday. It was your boy Inoue, who is he became he became the first undisputed bantamweight champion in 50 years. He had secured a late round TKO in this latest fight, and we won against Butler. And so we want to. A lot of people have him now as boxing's #1 pound for pound. So we're not going to get too much.
That's a bit high. That's a bit
right there. But
why you said three divisions? I mean,
let's kind of talk about this. So
you say that give him accolades. You take him back when you say pound for pound.
I said one.
Who would you put in front of?
Who would you put in front of him?
I would put Usyk and Crawford.
Why would you put Crawford ahead of him?
Because I think his overall strength of opposition is better than Inoue's overall strength of opposition.
And what was Crawford's strength of opposition? Nobody.
Well, that's according to you. That's according to you.
I'm sorry I asked that question.
If you don't rate guys like Sean Porter and Victor Postal, Jeff Horn, if you don't rate those guys, and you don't rate those guys,
I don't rank Jeff Horn,
who beat Manny Pacquiao,
arguably.
Who did better against Manny Pacquiao? Keith Thurman?
Who did Jeff Horn beat to get a shot at Pacquiao? That should be the question.
I don't know what that
is. That's exactly what.
What does that have to do? What does that have to do with him? What does that have to do with him? His quality as a fighter?
Everything. Everything. He was gifted a shot against Pacquiao.
He won. He took advantage of that shit. He won a close fight. And now y'all saying
he was a great fighter. And
I know one said he was a great fighter. Nobody said he was a great fighter. I just said he was a good fighter. And if you don't rate those guys, that's fine. I believe reasonable people rate guys like Victor Postal and
Postal. I give you Postal. I've always said I give you Postal as one of his best fights. I give you that.
But getting back to your original question again, I think that Crawford's strength of opposition, you throw guys like Sean Porter in there, I think his overall strength of opposition is better than Inoue's, which is why it was one of the only reasons why I would have him ranked above above Inoue.
Wait a minute, wait a fucking minute. Isn't Nonito Donaire's accomplishments better than Sean Porter's?
Yeah, probably.
So you just said Terrence Crawford's best, but like one of his best.
I said his overall. You need to pay attention.
Well, overall,
I'm giving you stop because I can see you really trying to figure out your next argument, and you stop listening. I said his overall strength of opposition,
and then you gave me names, and within those names.
I mean, but those are just names.
Yo, what does that sound?
He didn't say like this was his best win or.
All right, so his best. Tell me who his best win was then.
Best win.
Terrence Crawford's.
I think his best win is probably it's either Postal or Porter. I put those like 1A, 1B. It's probably Postal or Porter.
To go back to what I was saying.
Okay.
Are those put Nonito Donaire's accomplishments against both of those and see who comes out better?
Randy, I told you last week that I would compare Donaire. I would put Donaire up against any of Crawford's wins. I said that shit on the last show.
But how when he fought, because Nonito Donaire, right? He was somebody who had. The first time he fought him, he had 5 losses, right? So we're not talking about a prime Nonito Donaire, right?
Absolutely.
So he fought him the first time in 2019 when he was 37 years old, right? So like, let's be clear on when
that was going to be his last fight, and he was going to retire, and he had 3 losses.
That before the fight.
What?
So stop that. He didn't announce he was going to retire.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
So
did he have 3 losses?
Porter?
He wasn't 37 years old.
Did he have 3 losses?
When he fought,
he had 3 losses. What's that got to do with it? People lose fights sometimes, Randy.
But I'm going against what Cameron said. Don't tell me. Tell Cameron that.
Yeah, he wasn't a 37-year-old fighter that was out there. He was like in his. He was relatively fresh, and then he had lost against the best of the best. He had lost to Kell Brook. He had lost to
a prime Kell Brook before he got his face
Kell Brook. Yeah, open. He had lost to Keith Thurman, which is a good decision. And then he lost to Errol Spence in there, and in a fight where that was a split decision loss that he had against Errol Spence. And this was when, and he was in his early 30s, and this was not somebody who was kind of on. I want to say on his last leg, but
look, we don't have to use Donaire. That's the win that stands out to me because of Donaire's overall career and his accolades. We could pick out a guy like Nordine Wabali, who I believe was a multiple division champ, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or unified champ at one point.
But the argument,
he's several guys. He got names. Inoue has got reputable guys on there. I just don't think they're quite. If you look at it in terms of like a GPA, I will put Terrence Crawford's overall GPA. If Terrence Crawford's overall GPA for opposition is like, I'm just throwing a number out there, is a 3, I think Inoue's is probably like a 2.8 or a 2.7, just as a comparative.
So you got
pull those numbers out of thin air.
So you got Usyk, Crawford, then.
Usyk, Crawford. You want to put Usyk ahead of Crawford? I'm not going to argue with you. You want to put Crawford ahead of Usyk? I'm not going to argue. Right. But Inoue, being an undefeated now, 3-division champ and undisputed, has to put him in the top 3. There's only 3-division undisputed champs in the sport right now. They're Canelo Alvarez, who has a loss. It's Monster Inoue, and it's Alexander Usyk. Oh, 4 now. Take Crawford. Those are the 4 guys who have a multiple division champs who are also undisputed. But Canelo has the loss.
And
Canelo,
I was gonna say and undefeated. If you say undefeated, then that takes Canelo out. Right?
Then that brings you to 3 guys. That brings you to 3 guys, man. And this guy and black fight fans, for whatever reason, we talked about this shit last week. Whenever you bring up this kid in a way, there's always this guy. Oh, what about Stephen Fulton? What about Stephen Fulton? What about Stephen Fulton? Stephen Fulton's not in his weight class. He's moved up 3 weight divisions and knocked, if I'm not mistaken, he's knocked almost everybody the fuck out. What's his knockout? No, he's got 21 KOs out of 24.
Got 24. I mean, he's at 87. He's at 88%, basically. I mean, that's pretty. That's like Mike Tyson numbers, like early career.
Yeah. So I don't. You hear this almost specifically from black fight fans who want to discredit this kid. Many of whom have probably never even seen him fight. Right? They listen to certain YouTube personalities who like to race bait and race pedal and shit like that, and they take that and they run with it. I challenge people to go watch him fight. Please do. I have also told Randy very specifically that I would not favor him to beat Stephen Fulton. But again, this is a guy who will be on his 4th weight class, right? After he's undisputed, right? So let's give the man his credit. Give the man his credit. And he's, like I put on the title of the last segment we did on Inoue, he's a top 5, top 4 pound for pound guy.
I mean, he's got to be top 3
or not.
He's got to be top 3. I don't. He might, but with that said, Casual, where does Inoue fall in your pop per pound?
Yeah, we had this conversation last week, man, and like Boston, like specifically, like every point he made was like pointed towards me. I'm like, hey, I see it as like I don't put Babe Ruth in my top 5 baseball players of all time. You know why is that? His numbers were great until they won't. You know what I'm saying? It was at the time when they didn't fight have black players. I'm like, all right, get into a weight class where there's a mixture. And if you whoop their ass, then fine, I'm gonna give it to you. Like, and then you know what I'm saying? Boston last.
Yeah, you gotta beat black fighters. Now we found out last week that Inoue has a black fighter on his resume. By the way, he has one, but nobody knows nothing about that dude. And then it's not the fact that I'm trying to brace bait, because I have Usyk is my number 1 fighter pound for pound. And then Usyk whooped fucking Anthony Joshua ass. And I was going for him for that fight. So it has nothing to do with race for me. My thing is, but if you sure? Because you just said
it's about styles. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I can also say I haven't looked at his resume and say that, okay, have you beat a Mexican? And you know what I'm saying? And like a straightforward Mexican style at that weight class. I don't know if he has or not. So if you have a sample size of him fighting straight, like historically Europeans and Asians, and that's all he's fought. And I know in boxing, like, those aren't usually the champs that we're looking at.
Well, what are you talking about? He's fought undefeated Puerto Ricans. He's like, come on.
I just said I don't know. I just said that.
That's what I'm saying. Like, why are you making the
black
judgment?
side? But it was one black dude that nobody heard of. I literally just said I don't know about the Mexican side. But I know he didn't do the black side, so let's see him when he fights a black dude. He's been a reputable black dude and see where he's at.
So you're comparing him to Babe Ruth, who never had the face. So you saying that he's avoiding black fighters?
No, he's saying he needs to fight a black fighter to prove himself to Randy.
To prove himself to me.
See, but here's the thing: is for our audience, Randy is not the only person who has this position, right? There's a lot
And it ain't about the black fighter. It's about the style. It's styles make fights. And like I told Boston last week,
I'm saying, like, tell me a fighter at 118 pounds that he's been avoiding at bantamweight. Like, that's his weight class. Like, that's what he has unified.
Okay, he cleaned out his weight class. I still don't put him at like the number one pound for pound fighter in the world because of that.
Because he smashes everybody. And
Haney apparently cleaned out his weight class. I mean,
we know he didn't. We know Haney didn't clean out the weight class.
But he got all 4 belts.
Yeah, he got all 4 belts by beating one guy, right? That's not what Inoue has done.
So he is the top of his division.
So you don't rank him at all in the pound for pound?
No, I do rank him. I do rank him.
What do you rank him?
Where is it? Where you got him?
What do you rank him?
3, about 3.
Okay, I mean, I said that top 3. There's no argument. Yeah, there's no argument then. Okay. 3 is good. All right. So
I was arguing about like, no, he can't be number 1 for me. He can't be. You know what I'm saying? The number
one is high. One is.
I mean, come on, like, man, we all know that. We all know that one is Crawford, man. So like, we not.
You said you trying to fuck with you. You said one is Crawford.
Man, I want somebody.
Red is like who?
I will mount it on the wall.
I'm just trying with you.
That's so and so. Oh, that's so and so. Not like that's why I argue with people on Facebook. I'm like, all right, Crawford got accolades. You know what I'm saying? His report card is spotless. But I'm like, what is his legacy? What is his legacy fight? You know what I'm saying? Where we could we go down and be like, yo, man, that fight was so and so did it.
Well, like Crawford is gonna be undisputed at super lightweight, and he's gonna be undisputed at welterweight. That's his legacy.
If he does,
right? I mean, right? Because if Errol Spence at that fight, let's say hypothetically the fight happens, and then he beats Spence, and then Spence goes on to accomplish nothing after that, you could arguably look at Spence the same way you look at some of the other guys on Crawford's report card resume.
3 belts, and he has names behind the belts that he fought.
He has names that we know, but what are those guys like? What has Danny Garcia done at welterweight? Right.
That wasn't a belt though.
But that's one of his names though. Who are the guys he beat for those belts? He beat Ugas for a belt, right?
He beat Pacquiao.
He beat Mikey Garcia.
So you give Ugas credit for the Pacquiao win, but not Jeff Horn, who beat him years prior to.
No, I don't. I really don't. But I never said that Ugas was one of his best fights. I say that a prime Kell Brook, everybody be like, well, he had one broke out, but he broke the other eye.
No, but he actually was losing that fight against Kell Brook. Like Kell Brook was actually fighting it.
Exactly. And he came and but that going in. My thing is, with throughout all of this is when you go into the fight, if before the fucker, when they say let's get it on, if it's already known who the winner's gonna be, if it's like 70-30, you know what I'm saying, 80-20, then that's not an accomplishment to me.
Well, I would argue that all of Errol Spence's fights have been, with the exception of the Brook fight, I would say that he has been in those types of fights, 70-30 type of fights. No,
he hasn't. Porter wasn't a 70-30 fight.
I disagree with that. Fight. I said with the exception of Brook. Porter
wasn't a 70-30 fight.
Shit, I thought it was. I didn't give Porter a bunch of a chance at all to be that. And see, and that's my problem with this.
Only reason that it was supposed to have been Pacquiao, and only reason that I gave it to Spence over Pacquiao because Pacquiao was fucking 50 years old.
Right. But again, if we're looking at strength of opposition here, and this is why I have an issue with this, the whole heavy lifting argument is that the guys Spence has beaten really are he's beaten solid guys, but not elite, not these world beater type guys. I don't think the Brook fight is the closest thing he's been into a 50-50 fight. And I'd say that was more 65-35, 60-40. I think Brook hasn't accomplished anything in boxing.
Brook was the champion.
Brook was a champion by beating Sean Paul. Brook was
Oh, he did. Okay,
so,
all right.
yeah.
So he beat. Okay, so he beat Porter. So
Porter,
yeah. So
and at the point
so
when Porter
Kell
was
Brook.
undefeated.
Kell Brook, Sean Porter,
right? Who you won't give Crawford credit
Mikey
because he
Garcia.
retired afterwards.
because he
Mikey
was
Garcia,
already on his third
he couldn't
loss.
even stop Mikey Garcia either.
Yeah, a blown up lightweight. Right. So
Hey, but
see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying?
Mikey fought since really? Has Mikey looked good since?
No, he didn't. But I can make the same argument for Mikey Garcia as you make for Porter. That his heart wasn't in it. He was ready to retire. But
he
that
wasn't
shit.
ready to retire. He kept fighting.
He did because they were giving him big ass fucking checks to fight nobodies like Jesse fucking Vargas and shit like that, and Sandor Martin, who at that time was a nobody, right? Until we found that he wasn't, you know. But anyway,
all right. But with that said, let's go ahead. We need to go ahead and close out. But before we do that, let's talk about the top ranked card from this past weekend, and we just want to give recognition, and we want to just give a quick evaluation of two up and coming prospects who had wins this weekend. One was Keyshawn Davis, who had a unanimous decision win this weekend on the card, and then we have Jared Anderson, who stopped his opponent this weekend on there. So we'll start with you, the casual one. Did you get an opportunity to see Keyshawn Davis in action? And if so, what did you think about his fight?
Yeah, man. I saw it, and I think he looked pretty good. But only negative that I have on him and knock on him is that where he's fighting at 135.
Yep.
Apparently, I don't know how much he weighed in.
That's not his weight class.
He weighed in at 134 and a half.
Like we talked about last week.
He did.
Yeah.
What?
He weighed in at 134 and a half.
He made 134 and a half is what he made. Good for him.
Good for him. But he
hadn't made it prior.
I don't think he's had step up opponents. But this is what his 8th fight, so I can't really knock him on that. But he did
7th fight. Yeah, there was a 7th fight, and against Juan Carlos Burgos, who has been, who's been a title challenger, and
been there with a lot of guys, and only he
has over has over 40 fights.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm about to go with, but he ain't gonna step to my boy Frank Martin anytime soon.
All right,
that's what I'm going with. That's the fight I want to see, even though they opposite promotion companies, man. I think that's the head-on collision that we definitely need to see sooner. Hopefully within the next 2 years. But Keyshawn's looking good.
Only 7 fights, 5 knockouts.
I still don't think he stay at 135 long. I think he gonna go up to 140 pretty soon.
Really? Not try to. It's so many. It's so many killers. Yeah, I mean he is. He's 5'9" too, so he doesn't have. With that said, we're gonna jump to Jared Anderson, who had a knockout victory this weekend against your man Forrest. So were you impressed, Boston Jerry, with his victory, and do you see him as the next big thing at heavyweight?
I think impressed was a little bit strong. He took some. He got clipped several times in those early rounds. But he was able to kind of shake those shots off. He didn't seem affected by those shots much, and he was able to stop a guy who, up until that point, had proven to be very, very durable. So I wouldn't say impressed, but it was definitely the highlight performance of the night because Xander Zayas looked. Xander Zayas looked. I don't know if he was sick, food, or what, but that motherfucker Coach Dave had me thinking this guy was the next one. He didn't look very good.
Yeah, he ain't look good at all.
Keyshawn did what Keyshawn does. I expected him to be the first guy to stop Burgos, and I believe the top-ranked matchmakers had that specifically in mind. They wanted Keyshawn to be the guy to stop Burgos, and he wasn't able to do it. And then you had Anderson, who went out and really he got to do that in there in 2 rounds. Stopped him on his feet, but doctors got involved real early in that fight. So sorry. So getting back to your question, not really so much impressed, but I give him props for the performance. It was a good showing.
So do you see him against somebody like a Daniel Dubois? Or
I'm sure, but I don't know that Frank Warren sees him in there against fucking Daniel Dubois. Not after last week. Didn't Dubois get dropped last week?
He got dropped
2 weekends ago or whatever.
He got dropped a few times.
I don't think he has any problem with a guy like Dubois at all. The problem for him is going to be trying to get fights with his peers is going to be tough. It's going to be tough because he looks like he is he's ahead of all those guys. I mean, he's got how many fights did you say?
For who? For Daniel Dubois. He's 13-0 with 13 KOs.
13-0 with 13 KOs.
He's only 23 years old. And he's starting to kind of grow into his heavyweight body, right? He was always a little soft, I thought.
He was. You could see him starting to tone up.
Yeah, he's definitely more chiseled now.
You're absolutely right. So look, Dubois would be great. That'd be a big fight, especially over in the UK. I don't think Dubois' handlers are going to go for that. I would think maybe, Frank Sanchez would be a nice little fight, but I don't know if that fight can happen. I don't know. Otto Wallin, maybe. A Tyson Fury opponent.
I could see that. Yeah. I could see that.
And what has Otto Wallin been up to recently?
He's been waiting. He thought he was going to fight Joshua, I believe, but that never came to fruition.
Hey, we ain't never mentioned that Joshua changed coaches again.
That video didn't seem to generate much interest, so I don't know that we need to talk about that. But to answer my own question, Wallin is on a 4-fight win streak. Actually got a 12-round decision over Dominic Brazil, which I didn't even know that fight happened. So that might be the next move. Is an Otto Wallin who's fresh off of a UD win against Rydell Booker, which is a name I recognize. Wallin's 24-1, having only lost to, I believe, Tyson Fury, who he went the distance with, right?
No, he got stopped by Fury because he was right. Because
I don't see any stoppage losses on his.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but I thought.
No, he went 12. He went 12.
He went 12. Okay, my bad. He was close to stopping Tyson. Yeah.
Tyson, he put that big ass vagina on Fury's face, and the doctors, any other fighter, they probably would have stopped that fight, but they let Fury's ass keep fighting. Now, to be fair and honest, that is a what's my man's name from Detroit from Kronk? That's a pre-Sugar Hill Tyson Fury that he went to 12 with. That was the Muhammad Ali best Muhammad Ali imitation Tyson Fury. So
exactly.
But yeah, maybe we see that next. Wallin versus Jared Anderson, maybe.
All right. So with that, we need to go ahead and close up the show, but we want to give some attention to a fight coming up this weekend. We got your man Frank Martin, who is fighting your boy Michelle Rivera this weekend. And we're gonna quickly get our pundits pick on this. So this is a PBC fight. Your man Frank Martin is one of the next kind of rising contenders at lightweight. So let's start with the casual one. So what are you looking forward to see in this fight this weekend with Frank Martin?
This is a good fight on both sides, man. Both fighters are pretty good up and coming fighters. I'm hoping to see Frank Martin's style is pretty much the same as Errol Spence, I believe. So, and they got the same trainer, Derek James. And that's, matter of fact, while I'm thinking about it, that's why I brought up Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is training with Derek James now. So
interesting.
So back, but with the Frank Martin fight, man, I'm hoping to see some explosive, some and him getting them out of there pretty fast. So my money's on Frank.
Yeah, and just for a note, these are both two undefeated fighters. Frank Martin is 16-0 with 12 KOs, and Michelle Rivera is 24-0 with 14 KOs. He's out of the Dominican Republic. So what are your thoughts on this fight?
Oh, hold on. And then that's a step up fight for Frank, because Michelle is ranked number 2 in the WBA, where Frank is ranked number 10.
Well, to be clear here, I don't know that this kid, Michelle Rivera, having pulled up his box rec, has fought the same level of opposition that Frank Martin has. So you call it a step up because of the rankings. I don't know that I necessarily agree.
I think it's just a step up from his latest competition that he's been fighting, right? So
he's looking at Frank,
he's a top 10 in all 4 sanctioning bodies.
Fair enough. I haven't seen either of these guys fight, so I'm playing box rec tic-tac-toe here. I have seen Jackson Marinez fight. I saw him fight against Rolly, and I saw him fight against my man from Ghana. What's the guy's name that got knocked out by Teofimo?
Ghana?
Yeah, the dude Teofimo knocked out.
Not Comey.
Richard Comey.
Okay,
Richard Comey. Yeah. And Comey beat Marinez and went 12, and Martin, I think, stopped Marinez, if I remember.
Stopped in the 10th round. Yeah.
Yep, and stopped Romero Duno, who I know also. So without having watched either of these guys fight, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna pick Frank Martin by stoppage. I'm gonna pick Frank Martin by stoppage here, just off of box rec. Frank Martin is 7.
In 7?
Frank Martin is 7 is what I'm gonna go with.
All right, so just a really quick look into the boxing odds for this. So with this, Frank Martin is a negative 245 favorite, and Michelle Rivera is a plus 185 underdog. So meaning that you would need to bet $245 to win back $100 on the Frank Martin win, and then for Michelle Rivera, $100 bet will pay you back $185. I'm going to go with Frank Martin on this. I'm going to take the overdog odds on this. I'm going to say that I don't think he's going to stop him. I think Michelle Rivera is, he's been against some formidable, opponents at this time. But I think Frank Martin has shown that he has the goods to be one of the next kind of up-and-comers at lightweight. Particularly as all of these lightweights kind of outgrow their weight division and move up to 140. So I could see him doing something at this weight division, but I'm going to take him by a unanimous decision. All right. So with that said, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap. I think this was a good way to kind of come back with most of the pundits. We don't have all of the pundits until I unfreeze. But we want to thank you again for rocking with us tonight. Make sure that you do like and subscribe. We're trying to push it to those 3 digits. We are very, very close because, once we get to the 100, then we get into the 1,000 and then so on and so on. But make sure that you do like and subscribe and keep it popping with the pundits of pugilism. This is your man, Professor Nims. I'm signing out for your Boston Jared. Don't forget the S. And then your man, the casual one, Casual Rand.
Peace.
All right, we are out.